You check the price before saying yes to dinner. You read the message twice before clicking the link. You tell someone you were just tired, but what you were really doing is a quiet calculation. Money, sleep, trust, time, energy, tomorrow morning. That calculation is becoming one of the clearest signs of where everyday life is moving. The old rules still speak loudly. Be open, be social, say yes, stay connected, drink with the group, trust the platform, answer quickly, come into the office, keep up, be normal. But ordinary people are starting to behave differently. Not through speeches, not as a lifestyle trend, not as some polished rebellion online. More like a quiet correction happening across millions of lives at the same time. People are building new boundaries because the old social norms no longer fit their money, their attention, their safety routines, their trust, or their nervous system. That is the shared reality. Men and women are both living inside a norm shift. The difference is where the pressure lands. A man may feel it when the casual social life he was promised becomes too expensive, too monitored, or too dependent on proving he is safe before he is even known. He waits longer before suggesting a date outside the app. He checks whether another night out is really worth the cost. He notices that work wants more physical presence again, even though his energy does not reset just because the calendar says Monday. A woman may feel it when being open still comes with safety admin. She stays inside the app longer, she shares her location before a date, she checks the profile, the tone, the timing, the exit route. At work, she writes messages as if a screenshot, manager, algorithm, or AI tool may read them later. In social life, she may drink less, leave earlier, or stop pretending that warmth means unlimited access. That is the sharp contrast. Publicly, we still praise openness. Privately, people are adding gates. You can see it first in digital life. The UK has been pushing harder on children's online safety, and Ofcom has criticized major platforms for not doing enough to protect children. At the same time, governments across Europe, including Denmark, have been moving towards stricter rules around young people's access to social media. That is not just a policy debate, it is a social signal. For years, being online was treated almost like a natural part of growing up. The advice was often, teach children digital literacy, help them manage it, make them smarter users. Now the question is becoming more physical. Can children sleep inside this system? Can they concentrate? Can they develop socially? Can they stay mentally intact inside platforms built to keep them scrolling? That is a real change. Parents, schools, and politicians are no longer only asking how children should behave online, they are asking whether some access should be delayed, limited, or blocked. And adults are not outside the same pattern. Fraud and AI-assisted scams are turning suspicion into a daily routine. CIFAS has warned about record-high fraud pressure in the UK, with AI and organized fraud changing the scale and speed of deception. You can feel that shift in tiny moments. A message arrives, you do not just read it, you inspect it. You check the sender, you slow down, you distrust urgency, you avoid the link, you call back on a known number, you wonder whether the voice, the image, the profile, or the request is real. Trust is no longer only a feeling between people. It is becoming a system of verification. That changes the mood of ordinary life. The same thing is happening with alcohol. In Denmark, Trygfonden found that 1 in 4 people drink at social events because it is expected, not because they actually want to. That number matters because it shows something many people already know but rarely say out loud. Some social rituals are not as voluntary as they look. The person holding the beer may not be relaxing, they may be buying access to the room, and more people are now testing a different rule. They choose the alcohol-free drink, they leave earlier, they protect the next morning, they say not today, and then quietly notice whether the group respects it. Gallup has also found that drinking in the United States has fallen to a record low, while concern about alcohol's health effects has grown. That does not mean everyone is becoming sober. It means the social cost of saying no is being questioned, and money is underneath more of this than people like to admit. The Office for National Statistics found that 79% of adults in Great Britain reported their cost of living had increased in April 2026 compared with the previous month. Reuters has also reported weak consumer confidence and caution around bigger purchases. That does not stay inside economic reports. It shows up in the small decisions. People check menu prices before agreeing. They skip birthday dinners. They suggest walking instead of drinks. They delay holidays. They say they are busy when the real answer is, I cannot spend like this and still feel safe. That is one of the uncomfortable truths here. A lot of what gets framed as antisocial behavior is actually financial self-protection. Old social norms often assume a level of surplus many people no longer have. Surplus money, surplus sleep, surplus trust, surplus attention, surplus time. The old normal was built around the idea that people could keep absorbing more messages, more events, more visibility, more flexibility, more emotional availability, more pressure to keep up. But human beings are not infinite inboxes. Work is another place where the fracture becomes obvious. Robert Half reported that a large majority of analyzed new job postings in early 2026 were fully on-site. Gallup's hybrid work data still points towards something many remote-capable workers already feel in their bodies. People may keep working, but many do not want their recovery time treated as company property. This is not only a workplace preference, it is a fight over time, trust and control. For some people, office presence means collaboration. For others, it means unpaid commuting, lost recovery, more surveillance, and less control over family life. And the class difference is sharp. A warehouse worker, guard, nurse, cleaner, delivery driver, or retail worker often never had a remote work option to defend. So when the professional class debates return to office, many ordinary workers are not hearing a universal debate about work. They are hearing a privileged version of a problem they were never allowed to have. That is where the shared reality becomes uneven. Men and women both face the new pressure, but not always in the same place. For many men, the breakdown of old norms can feel like quiet status loss. The old masculine bargain was simple, even if it was never fair. Work hard, earn enough, be useful, provide something, keep going. But when housing is expensive, social life costs more, dating is filtered through apps and suspicion, and work gives less stability, that bargain starts to collapse. Some men withdraw, some overwork, some become bitter, some simply stop pretending they are fine. The point is not that men are victims of every change. The point is that many ordinary men are losing old roots to belonging before new ones have been built. For many women, the norm shift looks different. More freedom did not remove the safety calculation. It often moved it into more places. Dating, public space, work chat, social media, photos, DMs, private messages, location sharing, reputation risk. These are not abstract cultural topics. They are small daily checks. A woman can want openness and still need barriers. She can want connection and still refuse cheap access. She can be warm and still not be available to everyone. That is the part the culture still struggles to understand. Boundaries are not automatically cold. Sometimes they are what make warmth possible. And not all of this is decline. Some of it is overdue honesty. If fewer people drink only to fit in, that is healthier. If children get more protection from addictive digital systems, that is not nostalgia. If people verify suspicious messages, that protects trust rather than destroying it. If workers talk honestly about commuting, energy, and time, that is not laziness. If people build low-pressure social routines instead of forcing themselves into expensive, performative togetherness, That may create better community, not less. The problem is that the new rules are arriving before we have good language for them, so people explain themselves badly. I am just busy. I am tired. Maybe next week. I do not really drink anymore. I would rather keep it in the app for now. Can we do something cheaper? I need a screen break. I am not clicking that link. I do not want to come in 5 days a week. Each sentence sounds small. Together, they describe a social reset. Public culture still rewards people for saying the beautiful thing. Be open, be free, be connected, be spontaneous, be resilient, be authentic. But private behavior tells a harder story. People are filtering access. They are slowing down replies. They are protecting sleep. They are drinking less. They are checking identity. They are spending less. They are trusting less quickly. They are trying to find community without surrendering their whole nervous system to it. That does not mean society is becoming colder. It means the cost of pretending has gone up. The old social norms worked partly because people paid the price quietly. They drank when they did not want to. They spent money they did not have. They let screens into every room. They treated exhaustion as normal. They confused constant contact with real closeness. They called suspicion rude until fraud made suspicion sensible. They called boundaries selfish until burnout made boundaries necessary. Now reality is coming back through behavior, through the person who leaves after one drink, through the parent who takes the phone out of the bedroom, through the worker who calculates the commute as lost life, not just transport, through the woman who verifies before meeting, through the man who stops pretending that another expensive night out will fix loneliness, through the friend who suggests a walk because dinner is too much, through the quiet decision to answer later. This is where dignity starts to become visible, not as a slogan, not as a polished online identity. Dignity shows up when people stop letting old norms spend their energy without consent. It shows up when access is no longer treated as automatic, when a message can wait, when a child's sleep matters more than a platform's reach, when a group can be social without alcohol pressure, when work does not get to call every lost hour flexibility. When trust is rebuilt through behavior, not demanded through vibes, reclaiming dignity does not mean withdrawing from life. It means editing the terms. It means staying human without becoming endlessly available. It means being open without leaving every door unlocked. It means choosing connection that does not quietly drain the person trying to belong. The old rules are not all dead. Some deserve to survive. But the rules that depend on silent exhaustion are losing their authority. And maybe that is not collapse. Maybe that is ordinary people finally correcting the terms of everyday life. Calm, boundaries, energy, direction. That is where dignity begins again.